Welcome into Locked On Phillies. The Philadelphia Phillies magic number is 1. They're 1 game away from breaking the 11-year playoff drought. We'll discuss how they'll do it in today's Locked On Phillies.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm your host, Connor Thomas. Been talking Phils baseball for years. And it definitely feels like years today. On 97.5 The Fanatic on the radio. And happy to be here with you as your host of Locked On Phillies. I want to thank you for making Locked On Phillies your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Got the lights on in the background. Probably should have turned those off. Sorry about that. But a big weekend for the Philadelphia Phillies. They take care of some business in Washington despite some weird weather delays and, frankly, a terrible job of scheduling. And the Miami Marlins take 3 of 4 from the Milwaukee Brewers. And just like that, the magic number for the Philadelphia Phillies is 1. Now, what does that exactly mean? If you're not familiar with how magic numbers work, and we've talked about it a couple times on this podcast, pretty simple. For every game that the team who's chasing you loses, you take 1 off. For every game that the team you're rooting for wins, you take 1 off. So the Phillies, they're in Houston tonight. They have 3 more games this year. If they win one of those 3 games, they're in the playoffs. Also, unrelated to what the Phillies do, so it's not like this has to happen in addition. Now, the Milwaukee Brewers start a 3-game series at home in Milwaukee against the Arizona Diamondbacks tonight. If the Milwaukee Brewers lose 1 game in that series, they're done. Doesn't matter what the Phillies do. The Phillies could lose out. If the Brewers lose 1 game, they're gone. So the only way that the Philadelphia Phillies do not make the playoffs is if the Milwaukee Brewers sweep and the Philadelphia Phillies get swept. Now, that's certainly still a possibility. And this is not set in stone by any stretch of the imagination, especially with how the Phillies have played this year, with the pitching matchups in Houston. And we're going to talk about that in the next segment about who they're facing because it's a murderer's row of pitchers, some of the best in the American League. Houston is absolutely pulling no punches. And the Diamondbacks are not a good team. They don't have anything to play for. They are throwing Zach Gallen in game 2. So not tonight, but he'll throw tomorrow night, who's been one of the better pitchers in the National League. So that's something to keep an eye on. He's their best arm. That could be a really good setup for the Arizona Diamondbacks to win that game. But hey, maybe they'll win tonight. Maybe the Phillies, smelling the playoffs, will win tonight. I just want to take some time, though, to reflect back on this drought, if it is indeed ended, as I think it will. And I'm going to be frankly honest, I think it ends tonight. I don't know whether it's the Phillies winning or the Diamondbacks winning in Milwaukee. I think it ends tonight. So today is October 3rd, 2022. It's actually, believe it or not, my birthday. So I'm turning 28 today. So 11 years ago, I was 17 years old the last time that the Philadelphia Phillies made the playoffs. October 3rd, 2011 would have been, they would have been in the playoffs by that point. Probably playoffs would be going on already. Yeah, because we're delayed this year because of the lockout. So they would have been in the playoffs. And frankly, to think about the time that's gone past just in my own life since that happened, I was a senior in high school. I wasn't old enough to vote yet. Certainly wasn't old enough to drink yet. Might have gotten away with a couple of those back in high school, but still, listen, 11 years is a long time. When you look at it and you compare it to the Seattle Mariners, who just ended a 21-year-long playoff drought, it might not seem all that bad, but it's terrible. It's the longest active drought in baseball because the Mariners are officially in. And that could end tonight. The fact, and this is a little bit personal for me, but the fact that it could happen on my birthday, so I really get the emotional effect of how long it's been. That's an added little something. And that's part of the reason, selfishly, why I hope they do it tonight. But in general, for you, just think about what you were doing 11 years ago, back in the year 2011, and all the things that have happened since. Multiple presidents. Maybe you were in school and you're out of school. Maybe, like, if you were a newly married couple, there's a chance you have a 10-year-old kid and have done all of that. 10 years old, meaning they're going into, what does a 10-year-old do? Like sixth grade, going, or maybe younger than that, fourth, fifth grade, but still doing that. And the whole lifetime has been without the Phillies making the playoffs. It's been an incredibly long journey. And that's why I'm still excited about what's going on tonight. A lot of people are going to say, well, they backed their way in. A lot of people are going to say, well, they're not that good of a team. And sure, fun, they made it, but they're not going to compete in the playoffs. A lot of people are going to say it's not even worth it. Maybe not a lot, but there will be some people who say, well, it's not even worth it to make the playoffs because we've already seen them collapse down the stretch and lose the teams they should beat. And the prospects of them going deep in the playoffs are minimal. And that's all fine, but making it in matters for multiple reasons. First, let's talk about the team, because I've talked enough about what it means to me. But guys that haven't made the playoffs before will get their first taste of that experience. That is huge for them. Knowing, not just because I think when everyone hears playoff experience, they focus on, oh, well, they're playing another game with higher stakes. They've played games with high stakes before. It's not just that. It's knowing you have the ability to make it there. Knowing that you can put together a season good enough to help your team make it to the postseason. Not how you play on that stage, because that comes with time for a lot of players, especially young players, which the Phillies have a multitude of this year. But it's just knowing that you are capable of reaching that level of success as a team and as an individual is a confidence booster that this team hasn't had for 11 years, and a lot of guys on this team do not have. On top of that, and that's the nice thing about this year, not only is it nice that the third wild card spot exists, because in years past, the Phillies would be on the outside looking in still and would have to catch San Diego. No worries about that this year with the third wild card spot, but it's a 3-game series. So it's not like what happened with the Minnesota Twins a bunch, or what the Washington Nationals would do before they broke through, obviously, in 2019, where you'd go and you'd lose one game and you're gone. At least the Phillies are guaranteed to get multiple games in a playoff atmosphere. So that's good as well. Like, I've said it many times on this podcast. I've said it many times on air over at 97.5 The Fanatic. I've said it on NBC Sports Philadelphia on the television. Listen, linear success, linear growth is important to building proper organizations. You're watching the Eagles do it right now. You've seen the Sixers do it, and even though they haven't taken the next step, they've been poised and ready to for years now because of how they built. The Flyers stink, so we're not going to do that. The Union, if you're a soccer fan here in Philadelphia, they've done it too. Linear growth is what that means to me. Make the playoffs, win a playoff game the next year, win 2 rounds of the playoffs the year after. Like, slow. You don't have to jump from not making the playoffs to being an immediate playoff contender. And that doesn't mean that season's worthless. These are important steps in growing an organization that's sustainable. And you can say what you want about the fall off from the 2008 core that happened from 2011 on. That was a sustainable organizational plan. They were in the World Series back-to-back years. They were constantly competing for the division. They had a good window there of 6-7 years where they were a competitive team, starting in 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11, and even in 12, even though they didn't make it in, competitive team. It can't be understated what the feeling of making the playoffs means for these players. And then for us as a fan base, what this means for people who are coming back, the casual fan is going to say, oh, well, the Phillies were a playoff team last year. Who knows if they make a run? Who knows how that's going to happen? What if we get a home playoff game? What if they dispatch the St. Louis Cardinals, who looks like they'd be the matchup right now? If the season ended today, they would be. What if that happens and you get a Red October back here at Citizens Bank Park? Do you know what that does for kids? What age I was, like 17, the last time the Phillies made the playoffs? That's okay, this is a playoff baseball team. That was fun. I want to go back next year. Maybe it's a random Tuesday game in July. And that's how you build attendance, and that's how you build excitement, and that's how you build faith in this team, because it's a proof of concept. It's another term I've used a bunch. So a lot of things go into this, and they're one game away from making it a reality, whether it's a win by them or a loss by the Milwaukee Brewers. And just frankly, I'm so excited for that to happen. I've got champagne ready to go. The post-game video I will put out is going to be one for the ages. I know what I'm going to do already. I'm just waiting for the Phillies to take care of their end of the equation, or Milwaukee to take care of their end of the equation. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm hoping it's tonight. And hopefully tomorrow's episode is a celebration of what the Philadelphia Phillies have done this year. But coming up next, we're going to talk about the logistics of it. We're going to break down the series, the pitching matchups. The Phillies can only control what they can control in Houston, and they've got themselves a tough road down there in the Lone Star State. So we'll discuss the pitching matchups and everything going on with this series coming up next on the next segment of Locked On Phillies. Folks, I want to tell you about Built Bar. If you haven't had Built Bar Puffs yet, you're depriving yourself of one of the great joys in life. And guess what? There's a new flavor. You ready for this one? I know they always come out with new flavors. I actually just got some in the mail, so I'm going to have to go ahead and open those up and break into those here. But the new flavor, you ready? They had the cookie dough brownie and everything. Well, it's the strawberry chunk puffs. It's awesome. I just got a new box of them in the mail. I'm going to have to try them and let you know how it is. So good, I'm sure, because all of their flavors are amazing. You remember how good the cookie dough chunk puffs are, right? Have you not had them yet? Well, they're light and chewy in texture. Of course, they're covered in 100% real chocolate, just like all these bars are. They use collagen protein. You absorb it way better. It's great. You can eat something that tastes good and is good for you. I mean, I don't know what else I have to sell you on. Great tasting. Great for you. Easy, quick snack. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to cook anything. You don't have to make anything. You just open it and go. You can take it with you on the go. Helps keep you in great shape. Get you all your nutrients that you need. It's awesome. Tastes like a candy bar. Works like a protein bar. It's so good. So go ahead and check out everything at Built.com. I want to tell you, of course, you can go to Built.com and use the promo code LOCKEDON15 and get 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCKEDON15 for 15% off at Built.com. It's the final series of the year, the final 3 games of the regular season, and it starts tonight at 8:10 p.m. down in Houston, Texas, against the best team in the American League, the Houston Astros. Now, the pitching matchups are tough. I'll say it again one more time. Tough for the Philadelphia Phillies. Listen to this. The murderer's row that they're going to face Lance McCullers Jr. They're going to face Justin Verlander. And then, just to top it off, we're going to face Framber Valdez in the final game. Now, the good news for the Phillies is they do have Aaron Nola and Ranger Suarez going. So that's important. And with those guys going the first 2 games of the series and then a day off in between, it sets up Wheeler, Nola, Suarez on regular rest for the wild card series. So that's perfect. And then Bailey Falter will throw Wednesday, October 5th. I hope to God it does not come to this. I really want them to clinch tonight, get it out of the way, take care of business. But could you imagine if you get to October 5th, the final game of the regular season, the Phillies have lost 2, the Brewers have won 2, and Bailey Falter goes out and twirls an absolute gem and beats Framber Valdez and the Houston Astros to get the Phillies into the playoffs? That'd be wild. I hope it doesn't come to that because I'll be having a heart attack. But here's how the matchups set up. First off, you got Aaron Nola on the mound tonight in Houston for an 8:10 p.m. pitch against Lance McCullers Jr. Now, let me talk you through exactly what the pitching matchups looks like for this one. Nola is 10-13. McCullers is 4-1. Not a lot of results there because significantly less innings pitched. Missed some time this year. McCullers did. Nola has a 3.36 ERA. Lance McCullers has a 2.38 ERA. An 0.98 whip for Nola, but a 1.25 whip for McCullers. So he gives up more base runners. He just dances out of danger, or at least he has in his 41 2/3 innings pitched, but a lot more of a sample size for Nola. 198 1/3 innings pitched for Nola so far in the year. 226 Ks to McCullers 45. So Nola, a better strikeout pitcher. McCullers has already walked 21 people in 41 innings. Nola's only walked 29 people all year. So be patient with McCullers. No, he's a good strikeout guy. He doesn't give up many home runs. He's only allowed 3 this season, but he's a guy that you can look at, that you can take advantage of if you're patient, because he's still figuring stuff out. Like, he's not in midseason form or even late season form like guys like Aaron Nola who have been doing this all season are. So I guess that's the benefit for this game. Now, what's the benefit for game 2 against Justin Verlander? Pray to whatever God you believe in, because he's unbelievable this year. He's the ERA leader in Major League Baseball. He's got a 17-4 record. That ERA, by the way, 1.36 .88. He's got a .85 whip. He's got 175 Ks. I don't know how he's still doing it at 39 years of age. That's incredible. I'm turning 28, and I hurt when I get out of bed. Imagine being 11 years older, which coincidentally, 11, the magic number, not the actual Phillies magic number. The Phillies magic number is 1, but 11 representing the number of years the Philadelphia Phillies have not been in the playoffs. That's the age difference between me, who's 28 years old today, and Justin Verlander, who is going to be the American League Cy Young. Absolutely incredible. And not to mention the lineup for Houston is really, really good. And Dusty Baker has already said out there, not pulling any players, not pulling any punches. For the integrity of the game, they're going to play their guys, which, Dusty, I would kind of like it if you didn't, but I get why you do. And I can't hate on that. I respect that. That's just that's how the game works. Manager wants to play his guys. Manager plays his guys. Whatever. We'll beat them at their best, or we'll hope Milwaukee loses to Arizona at their best. And I know Arizona is still trying to win as well for the same reasons. And also, just a little bit of point of pride for them, maybe a moral victory, knowing that they knocked the team out of the playoff race if they take care of business in Milwaukee in just one of their 3 games. So it'll be fully stacked teams on both sides of both series. That's important to see. But, man, Verlander has been really, really good. He's even better at home. He's 9-1 at home with a 1.73 ERA. If the Phillies beat him, that's miraculous. I hope it doesn't come to that. That's kind of why I want to see them win tonight. And honestly, your best matchup might be Bailey Falter against Framber Valdez. Valdez is 16-6 this year with a 2.89 ERA, 184 Ks, a 1.17 whip. I think Lance McCullers is better, but just has less of a sample size this year. But none of these pitchers are easy to face. None at all. Now, the good news is at home, Framber Valdez has actually been slightly worse. He's got a 3.76 ERA down there in Houston, a 6-4 home record. So he's beatable. You do have Bailey Falter going, but it's a tough road. If you had to ask me one way or another, how are the Phillies going to make it in? Will it be on a Philadelphia Phillies win in Houston, or will it be on a Milwaukee Brewers loss in Milwaukee against Arizona? I have to bet that it's a Milwaukee Brewers loss. And if there was a game that they're going to lose, it's Zach Gallen's start for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Former teammate of mine, by the way, Zach Gallen. We grew up playing Tri-State Arsenal together here in the Tri-State area here in Pennsylvania, Jersey, Delaware. Went to Bishop Eustis, which was a private school, so we've scrimmaged them a couple times in sports, but they weren't in like our conference, but like 20 minutes from my high school. We played for Tri-State Arsenal together. He was nasty then. He's even nastier now. And he's not a Phillies fan. I know that for a fact. But being the local kid, being able to get the Phillies into the playoffs, that'd be kind of cool for a South Jersey kid to do it, and someone I grew up playing with. But I hope it doesn't even get there. I hope it's tonight. I hope it's a Phillies win. And the fact that I feel more comfortable about the Brewers losing to the Diamondbacks than I feel about the Phillies beating the Astros, well, it says a couple things. It tells you how good the Houston Astros are. It tells you where the Philadelphia Phillies are right now, despite having a solid weekend in Washington to put them in position to have their magic number at 1. And it tells you just how big of a collapse the Brewers are going through as well after that, losing 3 games out of 4 to the Miami Marlins. So, yeah, that's the scenario. Those are the matchups. Not much else to say. This is do or die right now. You got 3 games to figure it out. 3 games to get in, one way or another. It could be you. It could be the other guys failing, but they're right there on the precipice. And I'll tell you right now, I'm going to knock on wood. If they don't make it in, I don't know how I'm going to continue to do this program or be a Phillies fan or root for sports or anything. Like, I've been as excited about this team this year as anybody. I've been as critical of this team this year as anybody. I've lost my mind at points. I've been elated at points. Some of the worst losses I've ever seen have been this year. Some of the best wins I've ever seen have been this year. It all comes down to this. Let's hope they pull it off. I think they do. The magic number is 1, and they are so, so close. Now, coming up as we wrap up today's Locked On Phillies, I have some thank you notes I want to send out. Not for birthday presents, but for some teams around Major League Baseball that have made the position the Phillies are in possible. I'll discuss next as we wrap up Locked On Phillies. All right, a couple of thank you notes that I got to extend to some teams and players and organizations around baseball. And where do we begin? Let's start with our division friends. Thank you, Miami Marlins. Thank you for going up there and taking care of business against the Milwaukee Brewers. Thank you for winning 3 out of 4. Thank you for doing what you've done to the Phillies for years now to the Milwaukee Brewers, playing late season spoiler. Something about the Marlins and having the chance to make a team choke away a chance at the postseason, they revel in it. I don't know what it is because they have different players every year, different manager. Sometimes they did it before Don Mattingly. They've done it with Don Mattingly. I don't know how they do it. But they're the ultimate choke inducers. And for once, it wasn't the Philadelphia Phillies. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Shout out to all the Miami Marlins fans. Shout out to everyone down there. Tough time down there in Florida with the hurricane and everything. Listen, that's actual real life stuff, and hope everyone's well down there. But a big thank you to all you Marlins fans and the Marlins organization who fought through a tough week to take 3 or 4 and end their season, even though they have more games, and the season in games that matter on an absolute high note. So thank you, Miami Marlins. Next, thank you to the Milwaukee Brewers. Thank you for trading away Josh Hader. Thank you for putting yourself in a situation where you could choke to the Miami Marlins and having to go into late inning situations without arguably the best closer in baseball. Thank you for being in a situation where you gave up 2 runs in the 9th inning against the Marlins to lose a game that helped put the Phillies magic number to 1 and basically put you out of the playoffs. Thank you for making a crazy trade that ruined your locker room because no one understood why you were doing it. Seemed backwards as anything at the time. Seems backwards as anything now. Could very well have cost you a chance to make the playoffs this season. And who knows why you even did it. Thank you for making that trade for whatever reason you felt, because it has put the Phillies in a better position to make it into the playoffs. It was very kind of you. It was negligent by the front office there in Milwaukee. I don't know why they did it. I'll say it over and over and over again. But from Phillies fans, thank you for doing it, because I bet you Hader gets that save in the game that the Marlins came back in the 9th inning. I bet you. And they might even win 2 more games in that series because of Josh Hader, because there was a game that went into extras that the Miami Marlins ended up winning. And maybe Hader's available in the 10th to shut them down when instead of giving the Marlins a lead that they would end up winning the game with. So thank you, Milwaukee Brewers. And one more division one. Thank you, Washington Nationals. Thank you for trading away or losing or letting leave the organization over the past couple of years. Bryce Harper, Max Scherzer, Trey Turner, Juan Soto, Josh Bell, all of these guys. You had them. They're gone now, making you an incompetent, very, very beatable team that the Phillies absolutely feasted against this year. If the Nationals are even competent, if they even play remotely like a major league organization, the Philadelphia Phillies are not in the playoffs this year. But luckily for the Phillies, that organization sells off everybody, trades everybody, releases everybody, doesn't want to compete, doesn't know how to compete, can't place a winning product on the field, and the Phillies are the benefits to the Washington Nationals organization. I keep saying the Marlins. To the Nationals organization for making yourself a non-competitive team and allowing the Phillies to beat you so many times, including 3 of 4 against the Nationals in a huge, huge series down there in Washington. Thank you so much. So let's recap. Thank you to the Marlins for beating the Brewers. Thank you to the Brewers for trading away a great reliever that helps you get beat. And thank you to the Washington Nationals for just not even trying to be competitive. And all of that leads up to the magic number being 1 for the Philadelphia Phillies. It's 1. 1 win, 1 loss by the Brewers, and they're in for the first time in 11 years. And I cannot wait. And I hope tomorrow morning I'm recording a hungover, voices hoarse, very excited episode of Locked On Phillies. If it's not tomorrow, I hope it's Wednesday. Wait, is tomorrow Wednesday? No. Yes, tomorrow's Tuesday. If it's not tomorrow, I hope it's Wednesday. If it's not Wednesday, I hope it's Thursday. And if it's not Thursday, then I may never record this podcast again because I'll lose my mind. They're going to get in, though. They're going to. They have to. And I can't wait until they do. And we will talk to you next time on Locked On Phillies, hopefully after a win tonight, and hope that they do. I want to thank you for making Locked On Phillies your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Make your second listen Locked On MLB. Paul Francis Sullivan, he's talking with some playoff-ready teams. A bunch of teams have already clinched. The only things not settled right now, the NL wildcard race and the NL East. So A lot of the NL East coverage recently. If you want to keep up on what's going on in the division, check out Sully's work over there on Locked On MLB. It's available wherever you get your podcasts. It's available on YouTube, available on the Odyssey app. So go ahead and check that out. That's all my time for today. It's in the Philadelphia Phillies and the Milwaukee Brewers in God's hands now. We'll see what they do tonight, but they're one game away. Talk to you tomorrow on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.